All right, so whenever you're ready, you can come to a comfortable seat on your mat. And we're going to get started with some gentle movements right away up the spinal cord. So as you take your big cleansing breath, inhaling big through the nose, exhale and release it all through the mouth as you curl the spine down and release the head. And really just hold this for a few moments, feeling that curl in the spine, really scanning the place from your tailbone through the crown of the head. And then on your next inhale, draw the air up from the tailbone as you feel the air roll up the spinal cord, gently bringing your spine back up to straight, bringing the head back up. And as you exhale, release from the head, curl down the neck, then the chest, then the middle back, then the lower back. So breathe at your own pace, continuing to kind of wave yourself up your spinal cord as you inhale and down as you exhale. And really just feeling that wave-like motion in your spine. You can notice if there's any kinks in the spine, if you're experiencing any discomfort. And again, keep this at your own pace. So you might move really slowly and even hold the breath for a moment or two. Or you might be moving a little bit quicker, just depending on what feels intuitively right to you. So take about 4 more breaths going just like this. Relaxing the face as you do so. Relaxing the shoulders. One more full breath. And we'll meet with the spine straight. As you exhale, you can let the shoulders drop. And just take a moment to notice. Take a moment to observe. Checking in with the spine, checking in with the mind. Letting the breath be slow and steady. And then when you're ready, you can extend your right leg out to the side so that the sole of your left foot is on the inner right thigh, or even on the pubic bone, it could be. And then as you exhale, start to bend over to the right. So feeling the motion come from the side body. Perfect. And you can bring your right hand in front of the leg, behind it, or on top. And just take a moment to explore how this feels from your left hip through the rib, making sure to keep both of your sit bones on the ground. And then next inhale, you can raise your left arm up and look up toward the sky, maybe just to curl your heart open. And then as you exhale, slowly begin to reach toward your right toes. Really feeling that down the back. And we'll inhale, you can rise back up. And just go at your own pace, continuing with this. Inhaling to open up, exhaling to close. And while we do these movements with our breath, it's really helpful to close the eyes. And you can start to notice different parts of your back, different parts of maybe your hip, wherever you're feeling this the most. And we'll do one more full round. And then on your next inhale, when your arm is raised up to the sky, you can just relax it down by your side as you let your head drop, bringing your ear toward your shoulder. Just really feeling this space from the left fingertips through the left ear. Breathing into this space. Then you can bring your right hand to the head and gently push yourself back up to center. Awesome. Just take a moment to settle. And then as you're ready, you can pull your right foot in and extend your left foot out. We'll do that on the other side. Taking a big inhale to straighten out the spine. And then exhale, we'll start to bend in the side body, coming over to the left. And again, the left hand can be in front, behind, or on top of the leg. And really just feeling both sit bones on the ground and the space from your right hip through the ribs and maybe even further. And then as you're ready, you can inhale and reach your right arm up and maybe start to curl the heart open. And then exhale, start to reach toward your left toes. So we're just going to do the same thing as we did on the other side. You can move with your breath. Maybe moving just a tiny bit slower than you think is slow. Just challenging yourself to move slower than usual. And that still may be rather quick for you, whatever feels a tiny bit uncomfortably slow. You can notice just a little bit more. Maybe how you're feeling this in your abs. Maybe how you're feeling this in the organs. You can really feel in the liver, spleen. And then doing one more round. The next time that you're inhaling and the arm is raised up, you can just hold here for a moment. And then as you let your right arm drop, let your head drop to the left. So the ear just falls toward the shoulder. Maybe take some audible exhales. It's really communicating to your nervous system that we're releasing here. And pulling the belly in toward the spine slightly. Great. Another breath here. And then you can bring your left hand to the head and gently bring yourself back up to center. Slowly. Great. And then just extend your right leg to meet up with your left. And we'll come into our seated forward fold. So you can maybe grab the sit bones and just pull them back so that you really feel the bones rooting down. And then you can even put your hands on your back here because you might have I feel kind of sore right now, so it feels nice to massage that. Then as you inhale, lengthen the spine, and then as you exhale, start to hinge forward. And you might move like super small amount. And taking one more inhale to lengthen. And then exhale to release. You can bring your hands forward or leave them where they're comfortable. And maybe you bend your knees quite generously too, if you really want to focus more on the spine right now. On your inhales, finding a little bit more length in the spine. And on your exhales, hinging just a bit further and leading with your heart. You can start to feel that your heart is reaching toward the toes and your collarbones are broad. Get deeper into the hamstrings. Perfect. Taking 2 more breaths here. And then slowly you can start to come back up to your seat. You can bend the knees and bring them back behind you, and we'll come into our tabletop position. On hands and knees. And when you arrive, you can just come right into your cat-cows. Just continuing this fluid movement of the spine. We want to keep the spine moving as much as possible today. Great. And noticing where your movement originates from. It might tend to originate from your hips, like maybe your tailbone is coming up as you come into cow, and maybe your tailbone is tucking more as you come into cat. Or maybe the movement originates more from the heart. And just have some fun and play around with what part of your body is starting the movement. Maybe starting with one that you wouldn't have thought of before. Maybe starting it from the head. Or Maybe starting it from your navel, from the belly button, pulling the belly button toward the floor in cow, and pulling the belly button toward the spine in cat. And the same thing that we did when we first started the class, you can feel the air coming up and down your spinal cord. And now just feeling free to add in any other movements, maybe wagging the tail, getting into the side bodies again, maybe adding the neck, doing some circles, or coming into child's pose, whatever feels right. The only rule here is to keep your movement with your breath. So seeing if you can allow your breath to come before the movement. And with each breath that you take, that cues your body into the next movement. Whatever that may be for you. I'm taking another 2 breaths, just moving how you'd like. And then finding your way back to your neutral tabletop whenever you're ready. And taking a moment to feel this straight spine. So you can push the tops of your feet and shins into the mat to activate the core. You can really spread the fingers as wide as you can so that you feel that the skin in between the fingers stretching. And keeping the fingertips and the base of the fingers actively pushing into the mat. Feeling how that broadens the shoulder blades. And as you do that, also broaden the collarbones. Awesome. And on your next inhale, you can raise your right arm out to the side and up so that your heart opens to the right, lifting out of your left shoulder. And then exhale to thread the needle. You can bring the right arm underneath the left. Awesome. And then your options with your left arm are same as always. You can push into that hand to deepen the stretch, bringing your gaze toward the ceiling. You can reach forward, walking the fingertips toward the top of your mat to get some more length from your left hip through the fingertips. Or you can always reach that arm back behind you. Great. Take another 2 breaths right where you are. Letting something else go on the exhales. And then you can start to bring your left hand back to the ground in front of the face if it's left. And really just push into the ground with the left hand and letting that action bring your heart all the way open to the right once again. And exhaling to release into your tabletop. And just taking a moment to feel the difference in the size of the body. And as you're ready, inhaling the left arm out to the side and up, lifting out of the right shoulder. And exhale, thread the needle coming to the other side. So the left side of the head and the shoulder just resting on the ground. And your top arm is doing whatever it did on the other side. You can notice the difference in this side compared to the last. I'm taking about 2 more deep exhales. Seeing how much you can soften into this pose. You can start to bring the right hand back down to the mat. Push into the ground, using that and your core strength to bring your heart all the way back toward the left. And exhale, release into tabletop. Wonderful. Now from here, leave your knees and hips exactly as they are. Walk the hands forward and just start to melt that heart down towards the mat into your puppy pose. Perfect. Yeah, so you're keeping the hips right over the knees. Looks absolutely perfect. And each time that you exhale, actively draw your shoulder blades closer together and down the back, and actively release the heart toward the ground. Wonderful. So your forehead can be on the mat, and you can work toward bringing your chin to the mat, maybe, bringing the gaze toward the top of the mat. Awesome. And then over a lot of time, eventually your heart can even rest on the floor. You actually look very close. So 2 more exhales here. And then rooting down in the forearms and the hands, you start to pull the navel up to the spine and draw the air up the spinal cord, snaking your body forward into your Sphinx pose. Bringing your hips to the ground. And maybe walking the elbows forward slightly. They're in line with the shoulders when you look down, but from the side view, it's just slightly in front of the shoulders. And feeling as if you're dragging your heart toward in front of you through the arms. Beautiful. Pushing down into the mat with your pubic bone, with the big toes, zipping up the legs and squeezing them closer to each other. Perfect. Another breath here. And then next exhale, start to look over your right shoulder. And inhale, come back to center. Exhale, look over the left shoulder. Inhale to center. And do that 2 more times on either side. And doing your best to keep everything about the pose the same, except for the neck and maybe a slight movement in the shoulders. Just noticing how that feels. And then when you're finished, you can release your head to the ground, make a pillow with the hands, and bend the knees up toward the bum. Just take a few windshield wipers to release the low back, to massage the belly. And then you can bring the feet back to center and leave your right leg bent as you extend the left leg. And maybe you stay here, or maybe you start to really draw your heel toward your bum. You can prop yourself up on your left forearm slightly and reach back with your right hand to grab the inside of that foot for this nice quad stretch. So you can play around with starting to bring your shoulders really square to the front of the mat, feeling how that deepens the stretch in the quad, maybe bringing your grip to the top of the foot. And then coming back to kick the foot into the hand and open the heart slightly to the right. The half bow pose. Nice. And as you exhale, you can release your grip on the foot, bring your right forearm back to the ground, release the head, just take a moment. And then as you're ready, you can bend your left leg toward the bum. And just start really drawing, seeing what you can do without the help of your hand, drawing that heel closer in towards your glutes. And then prop yourself up slightly on the right forearm, bringing that forearm parallel to the front edge of the mat. And we can reach back with the left hand to grab hold of the foot. And you can grab the inside of the foot if that's available. I really like to bring my thumb in between my big toe and second toe. This is a nice grip for me, but if there's one that works better. And then again, start to square off the shoulders to the front, maybe switching your grip to the top of the foot and pulling that heel closer to the bum. Breathing really deeply here. And then switching that to kick the foot into the hand and coming into your half bow pose, opening up the heart slightly toward the left. Perfect. And then you can gently release your grip on the foot, Bring the head back down to the arms or hands. And just release into the mat for a moment. Let the legs settle, let the hips settle, and let the belly soften. You can bring your hands underneath the shoulders as the elbows stay close to the ribs, but start to point up toward the ceiling. Perfect. And then draw the navel away from the mat. Push the ground away from you. Bring yourself up to your tabletop position. And just for a moment in tabletop, we're going to tuck the toes under and bring the knees up to hover off of the mat. Activating the core. Beautiful. And then as you exhale, straighten out the legs, lift the sit bones back and up, down dog. You can do whatever you need to do to relax in your down dog or to explore. You can pedal out the feet, you can find some stillness. And just checking in with your own alignment. So seeing that your hands are shoulder width distance, the wrist creases parallel to the front edge of your mat, the feet are hips width distance, about 2 fists, and the heels are drawing toward the floor wherever you are, even if the knees are staying bent. So start to draw the heels toward the floor and work toward those straighter legs. You can pull the navel up toward the spine and really find some more length in your lower back. And wrap your shoulders around in front of you. So it's kind of as if your armpits could face toward each other. Perfect. Another breath here, lifting your sit bones as high as they can get. Such good down dogs. And then slowly begin to walk your hands one step at a time to meet your hands at the top of your mat. As you inhale, coming into your halfway lift, and stay here for 2 breaths, really just drawing the navel in, feeling the energy from your tailbone through the crown of the head. And exhale, release, forward fold. Bending the knees generously, letting the belly rest toward the thighs. Really releasing it all here. So shifting the weight slightly more toward the balls of the feet. So the action is going forward first and then folding. And can let the head and torso and shoulders, everything just ragdoll here. And again, just ever so slightly drawing that navel in toward the spine so that you find some more space in the lower back, find some more space to hinge at the hips. Relaxing the jaw, the forehead, and feeling all the muscles on the face just kind of hanging off of their bones. And one more full breath here. Then as you inhale, begin to slowly rise up to your halfway lift. Lengthening the spine. That's how we started the class. So really just feeling the collarbones broaden as you feel the chest. Oh, that's perfect. The chest reaching toward the floor. And then you can bring your hands to your hips here and start to draw your pubic bone in and up so you can bring yourself up to stand with a flat back. Perfect. Release the hands into your mountain pose. And just take this moment here to draw the energy up through the soles of the feet and lifting up through the crown of the head. Each inhale, the crown of the head lifts slightly, and each exhale, you root down through the feet. Inhale, sweep your arms out and up. And exhale, hinge at the hips, dive forward with that flat back. And then when you can't keep it flat anymore, forward folding. Inhale, halfway lift, lengthen the spine. Exhale, release. Inhale, rise yourself up to stand, reaching the arms out and up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, arms lift, reaching up. Exhale, swan dive forward, keeping that flat back, and then releasing into your forward fold. Inhale, long spine, half lift. Exhale, release. This time, inhale, sit the hips down and lift the arms up into your chair pose. Taking a peek down, making sure you can see the toes. And drawing the inner thighs toward each other, kind of like a magnet. Squeezing them closer. Really tucking the tailbone down and pulling that navel in, getting that length in the lower back. And bringing the biceps up alongside the ears a little bit more, but as you do that, also tucking the ribs under. Perfect. One more breath. And then exhale, lift the hips and dive down, forward fold. One breath here. And then plant your hands down, step your feet back to your plank position. Always option to bring the knees down and move through your vinyasa. So you can lower all the way down and take your baby cobra. Or if there's any other version of your vinyasa flow you'd like to do today, feel free to do that whenever it feels right. And we'll meet in our down dog. On your next inhale, raise your right leg back and up, keeping the hips square. And reaching through either the heel of the foot or the ball of the foot. And just feeling this leg an extension of your arms and spine, using that core. And then as you exhale, draw your knee in toward the chest as you shift your shoulders over wrists and place your foot at the top of your mat. Step your back foot to warrior one legs and we'll rise up to our warrior one. So your back toes can be facing the front left corner of the mat. And just keeping those hips square to the front of your mat. So you can pretend there's headlights on each hip bone. It's going right forward. And we're going to add a twist into this pose today. So it might be more helpful to widen your stance quite a bit. At least for me, it's a lot easier if I have a wide stance to twist here. But just getting the components of our warrior one right, feeling the four corners of both feet, maybe slightly lifting the toes to encourage that. Tailbone tucking straight down as the crown of the head lifts straight up. Perfect. And then there's a few options we can do to twist here. So you can bring your hands to heart center and start to turn your heart to the right and hook your elbow on the outside of your knee. Or you can also bring your hand to the outside of that knee and reach back with the right hand if you're feeling a bit wobbly. But continue to push your knee into the elbow as you push the elbow into the knee. So you really want to keep that knee over the ankle. Perfect. And keep drawing the left hip forward. Looks perfect. One more breath. And then you can start to unwind, come back to center, but straighten out your front leg and just fold forward into your pyramid pose. Awesome. So again, just keeping the scissor action of your hips. So really feeling the right hip draw back as the left hip draws forward. And always permission to adjust your stance. If at any point you feel the back heel lifting up or any other part of the foot not be grounded on the floor, just adjust your stance so that they can be grounded on the floor. The feet are our foundation. So we really want to make sure they're secure, so then the rest of the pose can also be secure. Drawing your heart toward your big toe for one more breath. Great. And then you can plant the hands down. Step your left toes back and then your right toes back to meet them in plank. Move through your vinyasa and we'll meet in the down dog. And letting it go on your exhales. maybe fluttering the lips, maybe sighing it out. And as you're ready, we will even out. So on your next inhale, you can raise your left leg back and up. And again, you can just keep your left leg active. So whether it makes more sense for you to keep the foot flexed and the toes pointing toward the ground, or to reach through the ball of the foot, whatever works, as long as you're just keeping the leg actively lifting up. Awesome. And one more breath. And then as you exhale, draw the knee in toward the chest as you shift shoulders over wrists, placing the foot at the top of your mat. The back toes face the front right corner of the mat as you rise up to your warrior one on the other side. Just taking a moment to find your right placement of the feet here, keeping the hips really square to the front. And you can even place your fists on your hips and just see that they're squared to the front edge of your mat. And continually drawing that, so feeling like you're drawing the right hip forward, left hip back, and keep tucking that tailbone down, because that really makes a nice stretch in your right hip flexor. And again, option to lift the toes for a moment, just to really encourage the four corners of the feet, seeing where you need to adjust. Perfect. Rooting down through the tailbone, lifting up through the crown of the head, one breath. Then you can bring your hands to heart center. And as you exhale, start to twist toward your left. So you can hook the right elbow on the outside of the knee, doing what you did on the other side. And one side might feel a bit, I get really wobbly in this pose, so I often just widen my stance a lot more. And you can keep pushing your knee into the elbow, so you're gonna feel like it's pushing it outside, just so that it stays over the ankle. Perfect. As you exhale, draw the navel into the spine, find more space to twist. Another breath here. So good. And then slowly start to unwind. You can just bring your heart back to center and straighten out your leg and fold into pyramid. So good. So again here, just adjusting your stance however you need to, maybe leaving it the same. And just continuing to scissor those hips. So feeling like the right hip's drawing forward, left hip's drawing back. And noticing that space from the left heel through the leg and through the hip as well. Drawing the heart slightly forward, feeling some more expansion across the collarbones, feeling how that increases the stretch. One more breath. And then when you're ready, you can plant the hands down, step your feet back into a plank position, move through a vinyasa if you'd like, and we'll meet in our down dogs. Letting it go once you arrive. And when you're ready, you can bend the knees, look up and step up. Halfway lift as you inhale. Exhale and release, forward fold. As you inhale, sit the hips down, lift the arms up, chair pose. And then exhale, straighten out the legs, release the arms, mountain pose. Take a moment here to check back in. Notice how that felt. And we're going to do the same thing again, and we're just going to add one more element. So as you're ready, you can inhale and reach the arms up, get nice and long, and exhale, hinge forward, and dive into your forward fold. Inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, release. Plant the hands, step back, move through your version of a flow, and we'll meet in our down dogs. As you inhale, raise your right leg back and up. And as you exhale, bend the knee in toward the chest, step the foot to the top of your mat. Inhale, rise up to warrior one. So again, feeling the hips square to the front of your mat. Inhale, reach, get long. Exhale, hands come to heart center and twist back to your right. One full round of breath here. And then as you exhale, turn the heart back to center, straighten out the leg into your pyramid pose. One breath here. And this time you can bring your hands to blocks if that's helpful. Walking the hands forward slightly and just start to shift all of your weight into the right foot and start to rise your left toes off of the mat, coming into our standing split. So as much as your leg comes off the mat is fine. You just want to keep your left leg straight and you want to keep the hips square to each other, square to the mat. So feeling how your left hip kind of wants to dip down or maybe it wants to stack up, just finding that middle ground. Each time you exhale, lifting that leg a little bit higher. This is a tough pose, so just breathing into it. And to come out of this, I like to do this little stretch. So you can keep your foot flexed and just start to now dip your left hip down. So you're kind of bringing your left toes on the outside edge of your right foot. So it comes like across the body, kind of like that. And then perfect. And then slowly feeling that nice stretch on the outside of the right leg and then slowly bringing it back in place right next to the right foot. Perfect. Exhaling here. Inhale to halfway lift. Exhale to release. Hit the hands down. Step the feet back. You can move through a flow if you'd like. And we'll meet in our down dogs. On your next inhale, you can raise your left leg back and up. And exhale, bend the knee into the chest and step it to the top of your mat. Inhale, rise up, warrior one. Taking a breath here, getting nice and long in the spine. And then as you exhale, hands can come to heart center and we'll twist to the left. Hooking the elbow, if that's what you did. Taking a full breath here. And then exhale to turn the shoulders back to square and straighten out the leg, pyramid pose. And now we can slowly start to walk the hands forward slightly, start to shift the weight into the left foot, and then we'll rise into our standing split on this side. So same thing, keeping the back leg straight and the hip square. Those are the only rules. So your foot could be an inch off the ground. That is still your standing split. Really breathing into where you're feeling this the most, probably the left hamstring. Keeping yourself steady with the breath. Activating the Ujjayi breath. Awesome. And then we'll do what we did on the other side. So you can just start to dip your right hip down and bring the right foot on the outside of the left leg and just explore this area, like moving really slowly, letting the foot move from the strength of your core. And then gently bringing it back into place in your forward fold. Releasing completely, shaking the head yes and no. And then as you inhale, you can slowly start to rise yourself all the way up to stand, reaching the arms out and up. Exhale, hands come to heart center. Letting yourself sit in this stillness for a few moments, letting the blood settle. We'll do one more round of a version of a flow before we start to cool down. This one will be a little bit different. So when you're ready, you can reach the arms up as you inhale. And exhale, release down, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, long spine. Exhale and release. So now right from our forward fold, you can start to rise your right toes off the ground, and we're just going to come back into that standing split, but bringing the foot about hip level. And here you might want to block, and you can step it, or wherever your hand is, kind of in front and to the left of your front leg. And we're going to try out our half moon, which I'm awful at, but you're going to slowly start to stack your right hip on top of the left, opening up your hip and your heart to the right. Your toes are going to point toward the right. Yeah. Using your core here. And then really slowly start to put a bend in your left leg and start to, as slowly as you can and gracefully as you can, start to rise or lower into your warrior two. Awesome. So it's feeling this openness across the hips, which we haven't really felt much of this practice yet. Feeling this openness across the heart. Whew. And then start to straighten out your front leg. Bring your feet parallel to each other. Rise as you inhale, lengthen the spine. And then as you exhale, wide leg forward fold, diving forward, releasing down, letting it go. Shifting the weight slightly toward the balls of the feet. Lifting the sit bones a little bit higher. Perfect. And then from here, from our folded position, you'll start to walk your hands over toward your right foot, toward the back of your mat, and turn your toes to face the back of the mat. And let's come right into our standing split on the other side here. So starting to shift the weight into the right foot, rising the left foot up. Again, blocks can be very helpful here. You got them. And then when you feel ready and steady, you can come into your half moon. So I like to bring the hand right underneath my shoulder, so it's slightly up into the right of the right foot. And then just start to stack your left hip on top of the right, letting yourself wobble. If you fall, just getting back up when you're ready. Half moon is really difficult. Keeping your lower belly tight too. So really drawing your pubic bone in and up. That's super helpful here. And keeping your leg tight too. So not locking the knee, keeping the muscles in your standing leg. Perfect. And then using your muscles really slowly and as gracefully as possible, lowering into your warrior two. Which is not easy. And then just taking a moment to feel this openness across the hips and the heart, letting it go. And then when you're ready, slowly straightening out the right leg, turning your feet parallel to each other again, and diving the heart forward, coming into your wide leg forward fold once again. And this time, really feeling yourself release. Letting the neck and the shoulders completely soften, letting the belly completely soften. Just finding that stillness and letting yourself just rest here. Taking another 3 breaths, just seeing how deeply you can release. And then as you're in your wide leg forward fold, you can just start to heel toe your feet so they're just a tiny bit wider than hips width distance. And turn your toes to face slightly out and away from you toward the corners of the mat. Bring your hands to heart center, your elbows to the insides of the knees, and sink the hips down as you lift the heart up into your malasana or yogi squat. And you can always adjust your stance when you arrive, maybe widening the feet, maybe bringing a block under the seat. Just here for another 2 breaths. Lifting the heart, broadening the collarbones, perfect. And then slowly point the fingertips forward, sit the hips down, and release the legs. You can shake them out for a moment. And just have, I think, 3 more poses just to cool down. So we can come into our butterfly pose when you're ready. Bringing the soles of the feet together. And you can just let them be whatever distance away from the hips that feels right to you. So the closer they are, the more we're focusing on the hip abductors. And then the further away, the more we get into the hamstrings as well. So up to you how close you want your feet. You can open the soles of the feet like a book if that's what they do naturally, or press them into each other if that's how they do. That's what they do naturally. And we'll be here for about 7 really deep and slow breaths. Letting yourself explore this pose, however feels natural to you. Just staying with your breath at all times. For another 2 breaths. Awesome. And slowly start to walk the hands toward your seat, coming back up, grabbing the knees, bringing them back to center. Give yourself a hug for a moment. And for our torso twist today, we're going to come into our deer pose. So when you're ready, you can start to unwind and step your feet as wide as your mat. And then bring your hands back behind you for support. Let both of your knees just fall to the right. And then bring your left arm, circle it around in front of you, and then coming back so that your fingertips are pointing toward the back of your mat. Awesome. And you can stay up here. If this feels good and right for you, you can stay lifted onto the hands, or maybe starting to come onto the forearms. Whatever feels right, doing that as it feels right. Letting your exhales guide you deeper into the pose. Each time that you breathe out, letting something go, letting your belly relax a little more. Letting your shoulders soften a little more, and letting your face soften a little more. There's also an option to look over your right shoulder and peek back toward your left toes. Just feeling that up the neck a little bit more. Another 2 breaths. And then starting to walk the hands back the way they came, back to center slowly. Knees come up. And then taking that to the other side as you're ready. The knees can fall to the left. You can circle around the right arm, bringing it so that your shoulders are squared to the back of your mat. And again, you can totally stay lifted here on the hands. Or come onto the forearms if that starts to open up, or if that feels good. Just feeling some deep softness within your belly. Each time you exhale, letting your belly relax a little bit more. Feeling this really nice internal rotation in your right hip. Maybe looking back over the left shoulder, gazing back towards your right toes. And taking about 4 more deep exhales here. And then when you're ready, gently beginning to walk the hands back the way they came. Bringing the knees up to center, maybe a few windshield wipers if that feels right. Massaging out the glutes. And then whenever you feel ready, you can make your way down to lay on your backs. And hug the knees toward the chest as you arrive. Softening the lower belly and the lower back to rest on your mat. And rock a few times, massaging that area. When you're ready, you can bring your feet up toward the ceiling. Bring your arms up toward the ceiling. And release the 4 corners of your torso into your mat. Feel the entire length and the entire width of your back be flat against the mat. The shoulders, the back of your heart, the middle and lower belly. Feeling all the organs settling into the right places. Releasing all muscles here. Letting the blood come away from the hands and feet into your shoulders and hips. Energizing the torso. Feeling all the positive and healing benefits of our practice today soaking into your body. And anything that was built up, any negative toxins, can exit your body through the soles of the feet or through the palms of the hands. Just allowing that negative energy to go. Another breath here. And then when you're ready, you can come into your happy baby. Grabbing whatever's available, the toes, the feet, the shins, or the thighs. Rocking as you please or finding stillness. And then whenever you feel ready, you can allow the soles of your feet to find each other. Allow the outside edges of the feet to find the mat into your reclined bound angle pose. You're more than welcome to stay here as long as you'd like. And if you feel like coming into your final Shavasana, straightening out the legs at any time, you may do so. Getting yourself comfortable. Feeling every ounce of energy in the body surrender. Letting every cell be supported by the mat beneath you. Releasing the to-do lists, releasing the need to be anywhere else than where you are right now. And for just a few minutes, letting yourself be still and letting yourself heal. If you would like to stay longer here, please allow yourself to do so. And if you're feeling ready to make your way out of this pose, just do so slowly by my cues, beginning to deepen the breath, calling air back into the body. Beginning to wiggle the fingers and toes, bringing some gentle movements, maybe shaking the head side to side. And take a nice morning stretch if you'd like, reaching the arms overhead. And then making your way into your fetal position, knees hugging into the chest and resting on one side. Taking a moment here. And as you're ready, leaving the eyes closed just for now, pushing the top hand into the ground, making your way back up to your seat, right where we started the practice. Hands coming to heart center. And just taking this time to fully and deeply thank yourself for practicing today. And may this continue to heal you throughout the rest of your day. And may you bring some of this positive love and light to everything that you do and to everyone that you see. Namaste.